Hello, comparative religions. This is the final lesson for this week and kind of the final lesson dealing with monotheism. What we're going to do here is a very, very brief lesson. We're going to talk about the city of Jerusalem and why Jerusalem is important for both Christians, well, actually, not just both Christians, but for Christians, Jews, and Muslims. And then we're going to talk a little bit about why it about the conflict between the three monotheistic religions and why it's kind of sad. Okay. We've mentioned this a little bit before, but I just wanted to go over it again with you real quickly. Now, not a lot of notes to take. Take your own notes on this one. Basically, just list why the city is important to each one of these three faiths. Okay. And we're going to start with Christianity. All right. The significance of Jerusalem for Christians lies mainly with this building right here. This is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It was built by Constantine around 330 CE. Constantine, as he becomes a convert to Christianity, desires very much to find and preserve the places associated with Christ's life. His mother, Helen, is also very much concerned with that. And one of the places, or actually two of the places they want to find, are the site of his crucifixion and the site of his resurrection. So, based on biblical texts and based on tradition, all right, they have a couple of very early forms of archaeological digs, and supposedly they have found the site of Christ's crucifixion and his resurrection, his tomb, which are now covered by the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Now, there are other sites within Jerusalem that are important to Christians, but we talked about Easter being a key ceremony, a key holiday for Christians. Of course, it is the death and resurrection of Christ that is kind of the focal point of Christian belief. Thus, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is in some ways the most important site. Okay, and it does cover the crucifixion site, Golgotha, and then the tomb. Okay. Now, supposedly, when they were digging for this site and they were digging for Golgotha, they found a bunch of crosses. And according to myth, according to legend, Helen, Constantine's mother, had a recently deceased body brought in, and they moved the crosses over the body. And supposedly the true cross, the one that held the body of Jesus as it was passed over the dead body, the person woke up. Okay. They also were raised from the dead. Okay. And supposedly that was the sign. It was the true cross. And that gave credence to this is where Golgotha was. And close by were a series of tombs. Jesus was buried in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. Joseph's tomb was a family tomb. It had to be enlarged rather quickly to accommodate the body of Jesus. And they found a tomb that had basically work done. It had work done. It had enlargements made to it, and they assumed this is the tomb of Jesus. Now, if you go to Jerusalem, there's another location called the Garden Tomb that is outside of the church, and it was discovered by a British general, Charles Gordon, and it is very close to a rock outcropping that looks like a skull, which is what Golgotha means, place of the skull. So there is a dispute as to where the true location is, but for Constantine and Helen, it was covered here by the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Now, for Jews, this is the key site. This is the Western Wall, or the Wailing Wall. It was built around 20 BCE. Now, it is not part of the original temple built by Solomon. Okay, Solomon's temple was destroyed. This is the last remaining part of the second temple that was built after the first one was destroyed. All right, and it was part of a wall built by King Herod to surround the second temple. Okay, so the second temple was built, and then there's this wall of protection. This is the last remaining part of that structure. And Jews come to pray to it. The temple itself in Jerusalem, that was the key site. Okay, you came to the temple for your sacrifices, okay, for your atonement. All right. So this is a big deal for the Jews. There's still a temple there. All right. There's still a temple there, a synagogue there. And what they do here at the wall is they pray. You can see, you can pray sitting down, you can pray sitting up, and they will leave, and you can see little traces of them right here. They will leave prayers in the cracks in the wall. Okay. And of course, the prayers are supposed to go directly to God. The prayers are cleaned out often, okay, but they are handled by rabbis, okay, and they're not just simply thrown away. They take good care of those prayers, okay. But it's not uncommon to stick written prayers in the cracks in the wall. So Christians, the site of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. For Jews, it's the site of the temple, okay. For Muslims, this is their key site. It is the Dome of the Rock. Okay, now the Dome of the Rock actually is replacing an early Jewish structure. It is also known as Temple Mount. The reason it's called the Dome of the Rock is it covers a rock. Now, I said it replaces a former Jewish structure there. The rock is believed to have been the location where Abraham was going to sacrifice his son Isaac. Okay, so Jews have venerated this rock as well. And for Muslims, they would also venerate it because it's connected with Abraham. Okay, now what's interesting is, according to Muslims, Abraham was going to sacrifice Ishmael, not Isaac. Okay, and God had Abraham sacrifice one of his sons, or get ready to sacrifice one of his sons, as a test of faith. All right. So anyway, sorry, I got off topic. So used to be a former Jewish holy site. When the Muslims take over the city, they get rid of that and they put up this Muslim structure. Not only is it associated with Abraham and his sacrifice, it is supposedly also covering the spot that Muhammad ascended into heaven from. Okay, so Muhammad was standing on this rock. Muhammad goes to this rock because of the connection to Abraham, and that is where Muhammad is taken up into heaven by Allah. Okay, and that's why it's venerated by Muslims. Okay, so what you see here is all three of the main monotheistic faiths have key sites in the city. The city is important to all three faiths. And from this little map, you can see, okay, here's the Muslim quarter, here's the Dome of the Rock. Then the Christian quarter, you have the Via Dolorosa, which is the pathway Christ took before he was crucified. All right. And it's going to lead you to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. All right. You've got the Jewish quarter down here. Here's the wall, the Western Wall. All right, there's the Tower of David. David's tomb is out here. You got the Church of St. Peter. You got these other quarters as well. The Armenian Christians are in over here. All right. Here's the tomb of the Holy Sepulchre. Outside, you have Gethsemane. This is where Jesus prayed before he was arrested. All right. The Chapel of the Ascension, which is covering the ground that Jesus was supposedly standing on when he was taken up into heaven. You have the tomb of the Virgin. This is Mary's tomb. Okay. So you have all these sites, and this is what is sad about the conflict. All three of the main religions at one point in time have fought over this land because they think it belongs to them because God has given it to them. Either it's part of the covenant made, and it's part of the covenant made through Abraham. All three of the major monotheistic religions trace it back to Abraham, either through Isaac or Ishmael. There are important sites for all three religions. In fact, they are important sites to be visited by anybody that would be interested in religion or anybody that would be interested in history. And sadly, now the violence is destroying the places for everybody. At one point in time, I truly believe Jerusalem and certain parts of the Holy Land were off limits to the conflict because people realized this is an important city for all three religions. And we need to encourage pilgrims, and we need to encourage others to come and visit these sites. But now, because of the bloodshed and because of the desire for, we want this land as ours, and it's been fought over for centuries, okay? Now, sadly, it's become dangerous to be there. And I truly do worry for all three religions that someday the sites are going to be destroyed and nobody's going to be able to go. And that's what's so sad about the conflict over this part of the world. Now, don't mean to preach. Certainly welcome to discuss. I'm sure other people would argue with me on that one, but that's what's so sad about this, in my opinion, is someday all these sites are going to be destroyed and nobody's going to be able to go. All because of control over the land. And in that case, all three religions are drifting away from their belief systems. Okay? Because it becomes more about controlling the land than worshiping in their respective sites. Be sure you get the notes down on this, okay? Why Jerusalem is important to each three religions. There will be some questions on this on your final exam.